Welcome back. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Those like, shares, and subscribe really help my algorithms and really help people when they're trying to find me on their search engines. This video is a little bit different than what I normally do. I am working on a modern vehicle. I am working on a 2-year-old Jeep JL, four-door full-size. The upgrade I'm doing on this Jeep is the track bar and the upper track bar mount. So I'm going to start with my crude little whiteboard drawing here. What is a track bar? A track bar is a fixed bar that ties the frame together with the axle in a lateral fashion to keep it from moving side to side, but still allows it to move up and down with the suspension because it has the bushings. So Jeeps with lift kits on them, you've changed your steering geometry. The one I'm doing today, he has got a lift kit on it. He is running 37s. So he already has made some other upgrades. Remember, we have a tie rod, we have a drag link that controls the steering. Those work with the track bar. Now, the drag link and the track bar, when you want to start talking a vehicle with good road manners, they need to be parallel. You need to keep them as flat as you can. Once you start putting lift kits on, you change that geometry, you create bump steer. They don't have good road manners. So when you have your track bar as flat as you can, as your suspension is moving up and down, the axle stays more located. If your track bar is very vertical and you start hitting bumps, it has a lot more movement laterally, and that movement transmits up the steering through the box into the steering wheel, causes bad steering performance. So lift kits, a lot of these lift kits will come with drop Pitman arms. Some of them you change to high steer geometry. And along with that, you want to change your track bar to the correct geometry. So that part of this we are doing today with a replacement track bar. This track bar has a couple of things. First of all, it's a little longer to compensate for the lift kit. Instead of it being like this, we're going like this, and it doesn't pull the axle, it puts the axle back in its correct location point. Second thing we are doing with this upgraded track bar is it has a far superior bushing system than the original equipment. It is also a heavier duty bar. So that part of it is easy bolted stuff. Now, the other part we are doing today, it's a Synergy upper track margin heavy duty upgrade. This particular kit is made by Synergy. There are other companies that make them. I've used a couple of them. I have not had any problems with any of them. This bracket is made out of a real heavy duty metal. It is gusseted, it is powder coated, it is really, really nice. And I've got to give them some credit. I installed this entire bracket system without having to make a modification. That is always nice. So, in talking about these track bar mounts, this upper one seems to be a failure point in a lot of off-road new vehicles. Jeep-wise. It just rips that mount clean off of the frame, and if that happens, you are pretty well dead in the water until you can figure out how to keep that axle from moving out from underneath the frame. What happens when this breaks, you go to turn the steering wheel, and the tie rod pushes, trying to turn the wheel, but what actually happens, it pushes the whole axle out from under it, one way or the other, depending on which way you're turning. So it is really not drivable if you rip a track bar mount off of it. Now, the lower mounts, I have seen those tear off, but it doesn't seem to be as common. They're a little bit shorter mount. Parts of the mount are tied in with other little pieces like spring perches and stuff like that. So I don't see this end tearing off as much as I see this end tearing off. However, if you are going to do a lot of off-roading, I would really recommend at some point getting the truss system, which has a heavier duty lower track bar mount incorporated with it. Today we're just focusing up here where these tend to tear off. And like I said, this bracket is really a heavy duty bracket. It is gusseted, but because of the metal they're using and how they're tying all this in together, it is plenty strong. The lower section of the Synergy mount also ties into the original track bar mount, even though that original track bar mount is pretty thin stamped steel, it still gives it a point of contact. The main mounting bolts, there are 4 mounting bolts that go through the frame and also bolt to the steering box. So that is extremely heavy duty. They added another feature with this Synergy, and also a couple of the other systems use this as well. They have a Pitman bushing that ties in to the Synergy mount. And what that does is it basically creates a double shear situation with the Pitman shaft and the upper bushing. So it's got an upper bushing in the box, it's got the Pitman shaft, it's got a lower bushing now that kind of acts as a double shear bushing. I wouldn't say it is super heavy duty, but it is far superior than just the traditional Pitman shaft hanging out of the box. It does put it into a kind of a lighter duty double shear, but I have also seen some of these Pitman shafts fail. So that additional structure is a big plus when you're doing these upper mounts. I know a lot of the off-road recovery guys like Trailmater out in Moab. When I was talking to him about a year ago, he said this is probably one of the most common failures that they are out on the trail either repairing or recovering the vehicle from. So it is common. It is very recommended to upgrade this if you are doing off-roading a lot, especially with the lift kit and big tires. It makes a big difference. So that's enough of my whiteboard now. We'll go work on the live vehicle. Open the kit up, comes with good instructions, all the components, all the hardware, and all the bracketing. First step is removing the original Pitman nut, installing the new Pitman nut with Loctite, and torque it to 185 pound. Next up on the instructions is to remove the bolts that mount the steering box to the frame. Now these bolts go all the way through the frame and into the steering box and hold the steering box in place. You can remove all these bolts. The steering box is not going to fall out on the ground. It sits on top of the frame, and then this plate is on the inside of the frame that these bolts thread into. I'm glad this kit comes with new bolts. The way these bolts are removed, I would bet there is some stretching involved with them. Now, set the bracket up, line it up with the holes on the frame. Now, it saddles over the old track bar mount, so I only thread one bolt in by hand to start with. Then I start the 2 bolts that go into the saddle portion that goes around the original track bar mount. That way everything's lined up before you have to torque it. You want to pay attention the direction the bolts are going through this lower section from the Synergy mount through the original track bar. The upper one is fine to go from the outside to the inside. The lower one, you need to go from the inside to the outside. The reason being is there's enough clearance for the track bar on the head of the bolt, where if the bolt were going the outside to the inside, the threaded portion of the bolt would probably hit that track bar and not allow you to get it lined up correctly. All right, now that those lower bolts are in and hand tight, put the steering bolt mounting bolts in. These are the new bolts provided in the kit. Put them all in by hand before you tighten them, and then torque them. Might not be a bad idea to put a drop of Loctite on these either, since they're not really lock washers on these bolts. The torque spec should take care of that, but always a little better safe than sorry, you know. Make sure those are threaded okay. Start it by hand before you start snugging stuff down. And spin them and then torque. Make sure to torque these bolts. The spec on these is 87 pounds of torque. Make sure you torque all 4 of them and then go back and recheck them to make sure that everything was seated correctly. Now these 1/2-inch bolts on the lower portion of the track bar mount, these are torqued to 60. Just following the instructions here. I'm using an open-end wrench on the back side of it, which is just kind of blocked up against the bracket itself, kind of holds everything in place. Now for the pitman support piece. Slide the pitman support over the new nut we installed, and then you install the 2 bolts that hold the support into the bracket. Now these bolts, just so you know, don't take a ton of torque. They're more holding that pitman support in a shear position more than a clamping position. Now these pitman support bolts are only torqued to 44 foot-pounds. And again, I am double checking my work. I don't really like things falling apart, especially on steering and brakes. And now just adding the grease fitting so that you can grease the bushing, and make sure you grease it before you let this thing go. And the last piece is the little inverted hex staking bolt. The track bar, I did want to point out how parallel it is to the drag link. To get the track bar bolt lined up, I use ratchet straps and pull it until the hole is lined up. Get the bolt in and nut on, and then torque it to 125 pounds. Easy upgrade, and all the torque specs for everything come with the instructions. So I'm a strong believer, if it's supposed to be torqued, torque it. All right, that'll do it for this one. Make sure you grease that bushing again. You don't want that bushing to run dry. Some of the newer ones have bearings in them also. And then take a final look at everything. Make sure all your bolts got torqued. Make sure none of the brackets appear to be bent, cracked, or mismanufactured. And after that, put the tires on, torque the lug nuts to 120 pounds, and you should be good to go. And it's still in good shape after a year of use and abuse. That's going to do it for the track bar upgrade on the Jeep JL. I really do appreciate you watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Just a quick side note, I did this upgrade about a year and a half ago. We have had absolutely no issues with how it's performed. Everything has stayed intact, just like it's supposed to. During that same time period, I have actually welded a couple of track bar mounts back onto people's frames so they could get off the trail. So I think this is a valuable upgrade to do if you do have one of these new Jeeps. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and got some four-wheeling now. There's a whole bunch of mud in here today. This could be interesting. Wash gets a whole bunch of water and it just turns into like snot. After a couple hours of sliding through the slime and the mud on 21 Road, it had just rained the day before, so it was kind of nasty in there. We decided we had enough of this, so we got out of the trail, loaded up the trailers, and jumped across the valley to Billings Trail, which was dry. I got my new Murphy's Garage hats, and these ladies modeling my hats, they look good without the hats, so I don't know if that's good or bad for my hat business. Not locked in. What? Your rear end's not locked in.
That helps.
50-inch tires. A little big for the trail, but it's getting there. Nice. Not as exciting this way, huh?
This way's a little scary. I think that way. My adrenaline rush.
Y'all decided to try some different lines this day, make it a little more
Turn
interesting.
right.
Get
Turn
out of your
passenger.
comfort zone a little bit.
Seriously. Turn passenger and just start crawling it and it'll slide over. Stay passenger. It's walking, keep going. Yeehaw! Go that way then.
Wow, hey, your
Get
mom,
backs.
your mom did that one last time.
Yeah, your mom.
Drive it like it's my Jeep. Uh-huh.
I guess I still love you. I'm disappointed, but I still love you.
Oh, that's funny. As you come up, start going to the right. No, 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 no. That'll drop you in it. Go to the right.
No, dear.
You're about 4 inches away, but you're going to have to keep turning right. Turn right. A little more. Okay, you just kissed the rock. You're good there. Now, you could probably straighten out enough to try to get this left rear to just barely catch. I think your right side's okay. I think you're too far to the right now. Ooh, keep doing that. It's moving it. That looks really good. Straighten it out. Driver. Oh, you're in now. Too late.
Oh, that ain't good.
You gotta back up. Start turning passenger. Come back a little bit more. Okay, now go a little driver and come forward. There you go. Go right to the crown of that rock. You'll be about perfect.
With that backbone.
Oh yeah, you'll be good. You're already on target. Hold it there until you're all the way up. Passenger. It's coming. Keep going. Straight on through, you're good. Little passenger. Wah wah. Did the same thing I did. Realigning here. No, go a little bit driver and go forward. Now passenger.
He's working on two for his daughter.
Well, plus he's an oil field engineer, so he makes real good money on top of that. So yeah, he's done very
His
well.
wife's the branch manager at Delta.
Right. Yeah, he's fun to wheel with too.
I've never met him. I've met his wife a billion times.
Really nice, quiet guy, but man, he can drive. He is a good driver.